Welcome, everyone, to Midday Magazine for this Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. Have your host, James J. Malouf, here. We're welcoming into the studio not only our good friend, Sheriff Sean Becker. Sean, it's always good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Hey, great to see you. Pleasure to be here.
Want to thank our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media as well. Do yourself a favor, go to YouTube, type into your search bar Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, subscribe to their page, keep up to date on all the great work that they are doing over there. We appreciate the gang there. Sir, I know we got a bunch of different places to go here. We've got not only a retirement and raffle to talk about, but a couple of other things that we'll do over the next hour.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, I wanted to kind of start off with, as we're getting into the tail end of summer, I kind of did a little bit of a survey and talked to some people in the community and asked around, and I got this vibe and impression from people that it's been a bit of a calm summer.
Yeah.
Now, we're saying that as citizens, certainly not in the position that you and many are in the community and everything, but I was curious from your perspective how you feel like summer has gone.
Yeah, law enforcement wise, for the most part, I would agree. And how I can gauge that is based upon all the community events. That's the summer is just packed with stuff from the beginning of June with Dairy Fest and all the dairy breakfasts, and then you get in July with the ski show and other events throughout the whole county, and gauging those, and I can compare it going back in the day when I started here, how a lot of those events were and how busy we were. It's not like that anymore, really. Something could happen, you never know, and we prepare for it, but overall, just thinking back of this whole summer, James, it's been pretty calm, and that's great, because that gives the community the opportunity to go to all the events that are going on throughout the whole county. Recently we had Vesper Days, then we had the ARP and tractor pulls, obviously the ski show that we'll talk about. The 4th of July, like I said, the Dairy Fest, that whole month of July, having the dairy breakfast pretty much every Saturday, kicking off up in Marshfield, and it's been a great summer. And for me, it's over because football season started yesterday.
Yes. And we're going to spend the next hour talking football.
Well, yes.
I know we'd love to. That'll be another show. We'll get to that show. Maybe when you retire, we'll get to that show or something.
Well, not going to happen anytime soon.
No, 50 years from now.
Well, let's not go that far. But anyway, no, I appreciate you bringing that up, because there's a lot of events, and I'll start with the ski show weekend. Normally what's happened now, it's not, people behave out there, which is great. We'll get a couple of incidents here that are very minor, but we work through those, but it's been a great event for the community. What always seems to happen is weather. We always have a weather event, and this year for the ski show weekend, it was gorgeous weather. It wasn't crazy hot. They had a little bit of a weather event as they started to set up the weekend before, but the host team, the aqua skiers, the parks department, Chad Schooley, everybody worked through that, got everything set up, and boy, it was an awesome weekend. It really was. Spending a lot of time out there. People enjoyed it. The community enjoyed it. We had one incident in the beer tent that we staffed that area with our part-time deputies pretty much throughout that whole ski weekend, and there was a 3-month-old that was in distress, and the mother or some family members had waved over our part-time deputies, and Deputy Hoffman ran over there and helped out, began CPR with this 3-month-old, back blows, clearing the mouth, and then the infant started breathing, but it was pretty traumatic for everybody for a short time. But they stepped in and did what they needed to do, and helped out that 3-month-old, and the 3-month-old is doing fine. So they really stepped up. I think there was a misunderstanding with some people on what CPR is, because we got kind of questioned on that. But back blows and clearing the mouth and doing the ABCs, it's all part of CPR, and that's what this young deputy that's just starting his career out, with our part-time program, most of the people that we hire, we know they aren't going to be with us very long because they want to get into a full-time position. And he jumped right into it, and I'm really proud of him for doing that. But other than that, a couple of small things. Our host team, always got to give a huge shout out to the aqua skiers. once an aqua skier, always an aqua skier, and proud member to be at least had the opportunity to ski with them. They had a great show. They took third at state, and a big shout out to Kelsey Sox. She was the show director, and that's stressful. You can ask her, but they put on a great show, and very close to taking second.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things here and there that if it would have gone a different way, I think they would have really competed well for second place. So a huge shout out for them and the host team that they do so much to make that event happen. I mean, their involvement, they're kind of like the nucleus of, they have a hand on everything that's going on with the vendors, again, working with Chad in the parks department and all the other teams, coming here and helping coordinate that. My daughter, Jordan Moon, is a assistant or a co-show director, big shout out for her, and aqua skier. Just what it takes to put that event together, and it's been going on for over 50 years. It's one of the highlights. It's personal, obviously, for me, but just to see how many thousands of people that come to our community and enjoy Lake Wazicha, and you get so much positive feedback from it.
I think I know living in the area for long enough how much people love their home teams, including the aqua skiers, and that. But the event itself is such a personal event, and people love in this area so much, and it's such a signature event for our community and everything. And I'm glad we got to that, because it's part of the reason why I asked how summer was going from your perspective. In part because, one, we don't get to highlight good stories very often, and we try to do that a lot over here and at this program. We also wanted to note it just because I thought it was interesting. But also, one thing that I've talked to actually our last 3 mayors about, and I've talked with many people in our community about, something that all rural communities are trying to do is not only keep the people that are in their community, but bring new people in.
Yeah.
And we have these signature events that do bring in people from all over the country, literally all over the country, coming here just for our water ski show tournament or some of these events. And how we treat each other and how we treat them is a strict correlation to people looking into this area. It doesn't mean they're going to move here just because of water ski show, but it is one more thing that adds to that, where, well, their crime isn't so bad there. Their schools are good there.
Yeah.
Like, these things all add up. And so when we do this stuff, not only does the water ski show add to our economy in this community, it could be adding to the future of our economy with these things. So when we're not knuckleheads, we treat each other good in these events and do this on a daily basis, these are the kind of things that can better our community, not just us getting along. That's certainly number one on the bulletin board. But these other factors are key to bringing in new people and keeping the people we have.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I got the opportunity to take part in a live interview out there, and when I was getting interviewed, that was probably something I didn't bring up. It was the person that was interviewing me from Florida brought up the same exact point that you did, and we talked a little bit about the changes, like I alluded to when I started here. Ski show weekend, we had all this overtime planned, and we had to empty out our jail because we knew we were going to fill it up just with whatever might happen throughout the weekend, and it's not like that anymore. And that's something to brag about. Quite honestly, as a young officer, you're like, okay, I'm busy. I'm having to deal with people that are doing dumb things and getting arrested or cited. Now it's fun to brag about that, how the event has changed so much when you hold some accountability on people coming to the community that are participating on, whatever ski team they might be on. Now there's accountability. If you do screw up, you make mistakes, and it's going to cost not only yourself being part of the ski tournament, but your team. And that was a big change that happened several years ago. That I got to shout out Scott Mahaka. He retired, but he was working with the aqua skiers at the time, the parks department, and just say, hey, what changes can we make to at least calm this down a bit? And then that was years ago, and that was a big change. And then I think looking at the other events, and comparing to calls to service when Vesper days. They'd have Vic Ferrari come in, and then we would be very busy, unfortunately, as far as law enforcement dealing with either fights or underage drinking or things like that. And now some of those events, they just quit doing them. Now they're bringing them back. And for me, it's like you have that knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, boy, we better have a lot of presence out there because of look what happened in the past. But what we're seeing now is people behave. They're out to enjoy the events, and we're just there to make sure it's being done safely. And Vesper had a couple hundred people out there enjoying what they're starting back up. And we had no incidents out there. Probably too many people honestly, that some people have mentioned, well, you got so many cops around here. And I hope that people understand it's not to bust people. It's to make sure the event goes off, safely. But that trend has been going on, I think, the last, several years. Auburndale Music Fest and their softball tournament, they would hire us too to be out there just to deal with any issues that might come up. But that's trended in a different direction, and that, for law enforcement, that's awesome. People are out there enjoying, these events. They showcase our entire county. When you could look at something on the weekend, almost every weekend in the whole summer, there's something going on in what county you can go to. I mean, you really don't have to go up north. No. There's something you could do and enjoy, and I think that's pretty cool.
With and certainly a shout out to the changes that the water ski show tournament made, and those rule changes and some other things that have gone in the community and some of these events. But so much of this has happened organically too, where the community, just people, we didn't all get together. All right, we're all going to be cool now. Like it happened kind of like over that time. Way over time. That's a credit to everybody involved as well.
Agree. Yeah, totally.
It's pretty cool. We had a really cool conversation last month with a good friend of ours. Scott was in, and we got a chance to really talk with him, and wanted to send him off as well.
Yeah, thanks for taking the opportunity to have him come in on the show. It was his off day. I'm like, hey, would you mind, before you pull the plug here, come in and have a chat with James and just reflect about, yourself and your career. And I'm really happy you gave him the opportunity to do that. Scott finished with the Sheriff's Department last Monday. Tough. It's hard for me personally to see him go because of the friendship impact that he has. But one thing I will say, friends last forever. Coworkers don't. That kind of comes and goes and makes me feel a little old since he started after I did. But he had a few years of experience down with the Rome Police Department, and he did start with the Will County Sheriff's Department as a part-time deputy. As I talked about, it used to be the reserve program, but then that led to full-time employment, and then he took the opportunity to come here, and he rose up through the ranks as a leader, and he's a big part of our special response team. In fact, he's probably through his almost 20-year career with the Sheriff's Department, part of the team. That whole time, and then he was leading the team. And he's one of those leaders you go out there and you respect because, he listens. Mm-hmm. He listens to other people. It's not all about himself. He thinks of others before himself. And I always say when people really embrace that, you're going to be respected by many people like he is. And going to miss him, but, one thing I can brag about him is he's smart. He looked in the future. He said, okay, my law enforcement career, I don't really want to leave, but realized, hey, it's time. I get at that age that, I can take a look at what other opportunities are out there. And he set himself up really well. Drones became a thing, probably about 10 years or so. And he took that project on. He said, hey, that can be an asset to law enforcement agencies when it's very new. And we decided, okay, let's do it. We made that investment in drones, and he oversaw that whole project and learned from it. Got some certifications, got the experience, and then that led into a company that he formulated with or put together with his neighbor Drew Swindorsky, and they put this company together, and now they're out, not just looking for like down deer and stuff like that. That's part of his company, but spraying crops and stuff where you could start doing that instead of hiring a crop duster or something like that. So very smart. Where he set up himself. Hey, what's the next step? In fact, I don't think he got a day off. I think he was done on Monday, and I think he was working the next day. So, I applaud him for that. That's one thing in law enforcement. We can retire at a younger age once we hit that 50-year-old mark, and you have at least 20 years in. You've got a pension coming, because the unfortunate fact of the matter is we don't live very long. But if you you retire and then you set something up to do right away, that's good for you mentally, especially if it's something that you've got a true interest in, and what Scott does. So I really applaud him for that. Like I said, coworkers come and go, but friends last forever, and that's one thing I can say with Scott, that I can give him a call and just to BS and talk about life and how you're doing, that kind of thing, and that's what I'm really looking forward to as we move forward. But again, thank you so much for giving him the opportunity to come in and talk about himself and his career. He's not one to brag. I'm sure you figured that out.
Yeah.
But a great leader that we'll miss. Replacing him, I hate to say that, but we just hired Mariah Matthews, another person I like to brag about. Her dad, John, works for us, and that's not why I'm bragging. But, one's family, then you talk to, Ted Ashbeck, and then Teddy is his son we hired. That's pretty cool when you see, your kids want to partake in this career, this profession, where they've lived it, they grew up in it as a family, and then, hey, that's what I want to do. Even when a parent might try to talk them out of it,
right.
They still circle around and they come back. No, this is what I want to do. I want to serve the community, and where I like to brag about Mariah, she started her full-time career. She started with us part-time, got hired full-time at the Rome Police Department, put some time in there, and then wanted to work for a larger agency. And her number one agency was the Wood County Sheriff's Department, which is awesome to hear. But the Plover Police Department hired her full time, and where Mariah just screams integrity is this. When she applied and interviewed with Plover Police Department, she didn't know where she was at on our list. I mean, she knew that she was on our eligibility list, but we had no openings. But she told their police chief, Ryan Fox, a good friend of mine, that, hey, I'll accept your job offer, but I want you to know that if Wood County calls me, I'm leaving. How honest is that?
Yeah, that's great. That is really cool to hear.
You always talk about integrity, and especially in law enforcement and public service. You say integrity means you're going to do the right thing when nobody's looking. But here, obviously that's something she practices. But here's something she says to a prospective employer, and I give Ryan a lot of credit. He goes, "Well, okay, I'm still going to hire you, and we're going to try and change your mind."
Right on. Yes. Yeah.
And it didn't work.
No.
So I like to give him grief about
but
that.
I like his intent. I like where you went with that.
I'm still gonna, and got a lot of positive feedback about Mariah for the time frame that she was at Plover Police Department. So we're very fortunate to have her. I mean, going back, when I started the career, it was so competitive, and we've talked about this before, where for one position, especially in central Wisconsin, you're competing with hundreds of people. Now it's just kind of flipped. Now we're kind of fighting over good candidates to work for us. So it's different. But again, for Mariah to be honest and not tell people what they want to hear, but say, no, this is where I'm at. This is the profession I want to be in. But my number one department that I want to work for is the Wood County Sheriff's Department, and that came together. And I'm really proud of her for saying that. I'm looking forward to her having a long career here with the Sheriff's Department.
We welcome her in, and looking forward to maybe even talking with her sometime or something.
She's lucky I didn't find her at at the department. I probably would have brought her.
I do want to note one last thing about Scott, because he also not only was he helping give me and our audience a lot of insight into certain things he did for the department, but to the drone point, there were things that I didn't know about drones until Scott started talking about them, and it was so cool to talk with him about that and see his excitement of it. It was really our honor to be able to have him in and talk with him, not just this last time, but over the years, and talking with him. And it did when we were talking, him and I, the last time he left, it got me thinking about this. And, in my position and Joe's position at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, different jobs out there, we have all got hiring that we do and the type of person we want to bring in. For me, I have this big list of things that I need. Seth and Melissa marked all of those things.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I got working with them and they started doing other projects and other jobs that I realized, I wish I'd have thought of that. I'm really lucky that they're good at that, or I'm really lucky they're good with this or something. With somebody like Scott, you can't fill those shoes. No. But bringing somebody new in, did you have that perspective of, okay, well, I know what I want, but there are things that Scott did that, man, I'd really like to find somebody that can nail this, and maybe nothing specific. Maybe it's a personality type or something. And I kind of segue from that into the new jail. And I was curious, Are we going to have to make more hires for that once the new jail is up and running, or do we already have the staff in place for that?
No, we're still working on that.
Okay.
Susanna Wagner, one of our lieutenants in our jail, has done a phenomenal job of overseeing the hiring process for the new jail, and all current staff, because periodically that's been a challenge, not only just with our sheriff's department, but all over, just getting the corrections. But I think we've done a lot of really good things in Wood County. One, again, bragging about our county board, the jail project itself, moving forward with that, taking that project on and really taking an in-depth look at, the why, the needs, and looking forward to the future. All right, so now we're building a jail. The second thing is staffing it. All right, the wage was pretty low. It was pretty competitive with other sheriff's department, but as I mentioned before, once the state budget went through, the corrections officers or prison guards, rightfully so, got a huge pay raise, and that set the tempo, at least a benchmark for the county. Say, we better step up and try to compete with this. I mean, we're not going to get the exact wage that the prison guards are going to get, but hey, can we get close? And they did. They jumped on it right away. We were probably one of the, at least in central Wisconsin, one of the counties that took action on that to show, hey, this is something we want to keep our current staff and be able to recruit people, because we're going to have to staff our new jail. We're adding 8 new corrections officers. We're still in the process of that. We need to hire about 3 more. So we're still going in a really good direction. And like I said, Susanna, on top of having Lola, does just a phenomenal job staying up on tap on that, with human resources. Just, hey, we're always, taking applications. So if anybody's interested in corrections, I would encourage them to apply. You always can say, okay, no, do some research. It's not for me. But it's a very big part of our team, the law enforcement team. Corrections officers they wear a similar uniform, but they kind of do the same thing that the deputies do. So
is there, before we're about a minute away from our first break, and then we'll come back and have more with Sheriff Sean Becker and here on Midday Magazine. Is there, if somebody's out there listening and they're looking for a new career, they're looking to jump, and they've thought about this before, is there a type of person now, is there a type of person that does work really well in that industry or in that job?
Probably the thing that jumps out at me first is patience. You're dealing with people that aren't happy in their surroundings, but working with them and then embracing the opportunities that we continue to look at to provide people that are in custody. As we talked before, and that is probably a struggle for some, at least corrections officers that have been in the field for a long time, the programming, and how much you want to invest in that, and it's a huge need, and believing in that. That's probably, but I think the word that jumps out at me the most is patience.
Yeah, it's great word and a great note. I wouldn't have thought of that, and it made perfect sense as soon as you said it. If people are interested in finding out more, or even throwing in their hat in the ring and everything, reach out to City Hall. Would you apply?
Human Resources, Wood County Human Resources online. Fill out an application. They do an awesome job. Whenever anybody sends over an application, they complete the application. We normally interview them.
Excellent. We're going to take our first time out. We'll be back with more, another half an hour with Sheriff Sean Becker and our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media here on Midday Magazine at WFHR. Welcome back, everyone, to Midday Magazine for this August 7th, 2024. Your host, James, here, and we're not only talking with our friend Sheriff Sean Becker from Wood County Sheriff's Department, but we have our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media in as well. Sean, appreciate the time as always.
You bet.
If you don't mind, I know we got some things to talk about coming up, but I want to rewind for a second.
Sure.
Here at Winter Field with our Rafters last night, they wrapped up National Night Out, and not just here, of course, in town, but around the whole country. National Night Out took place. Were you able to attend the event? Did you hear anything about how it went? I heard good things myself.
About me, or just
always about you? Certainly, always about you. No, but did hear?
Sorry, put you on the spot.
No, right.
I did
well
go.
Done.
I did go, and it was really well attended. I got to give a huge shout out to Wisconsin Rapids Police Department, especially Detective Sergeant Eric Dobbin, who spearheaded organizing the event. So inviting all first responders. It's really the big goal of National Night Out is just the community get the opportunity just to hang out with not just law enforcement officers, but first responders. And Eric did just a phenomenal job organizing it. We had our team there, Lieutenant Nate Dean, who's been really spearheading a lot of our PR events. Been doing a phenomenal job with that, with our PR stuff that we do in the parks over the summer. That was Nate's idea. And then he also is going to have a big part of the fair coming up in Marshfield. But anyway, to last night, it was awesome. I didn't know what to expect with the move over to the rafters, but I'll tell you what, James, piggybacking that event with a rafters game and having awesome weather was great for everybody. A huge shout out to the Rafters organization. I know that the owners now, Vince and Joe Fonte, just going back down memory lane, I used to work for them a long time ago. Yeah, my first job as a teenager, I just turned 16. My dad says, "You're getting a job." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to get a job." And he knew the owner of Furniture and Appliance Mart, Vince Fonte Sr., had just opened a store in Stevens Point, and they connected somewhere, probably for dinner or whatever. And so my dad drove me over there and took a look at me. "You're going to work here." I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to work here then." But it led to just an awesome opportunity to get those as a first job, those work ethics, what you learn and you carry on. I was telling Vince Jr. that last night. That's something I never forgot because I worked there for almost 8 years. Yeah. Wow. So a big shout out to the Rafters organization, the owners, to partner with this event because I think it served very well. And one thing I didn't know I was going to be doing this, but I got to throw out one of the people the first pitch. Yeah, so I one-hopped it. I don't think it's on social media. So even if I mention it, I hope. Yeah, anyway, but I made it to the catcher. But it was just a great event that, again, Eric put together. Lots of people. We had not only Nate there, but Susanna with Lola. Always a huge hit, having a therapy dog anywhere. And Susanna's done just a phenomenal job making sure, making herself available for, public events like this because it really, the law enforcement dogs are different, than a therapy dog. They're working dogs, where a therapy dog's completely, the opposite. The trains really comes down to get certified, a lot of obedience, and we're going through that with Lola, and she's been doing great too, and we're lucky. But again, Eric did a great job. Chief Haskins was there. We had lots of representation from law enforcement and just some really good interactions with kids. Yeah. And one thing that I always love to get out is our armored vehicle because people don't normally see that. I'll be honest, the biggest questions I got about our department was the armored vehicle and how we got that, through the government and how much of an asset that is and how often is it used. That was probably the question I got because you see this like tank-looking vehicle. It's like, oh, how often does that get out there? And I'm like, not very often, which is a great thing. But, we train with it once a month. PR events are a must, whether it's a parade or something like that, so people can see it. They can go inside it. In fact, Channel 9 came down and they did part of their broadcast from inside the vehicle, up in the turret. I thought that was really cool, and it gives people the opportunity to see it. It does get used, unfortunately, and we talked about that last night. A week ago, last Friday, Portage County had an incident where they had a standoff over in the Amherst area, and Sheriff Lucas called out and requested mutual aid because they had an individual. This all started out in Sauk County on a traffic stop where this person got out and shot at the deputy. Thankfully, didn't hurt him, but then took off, and somebody in Amherst decided to pick him up in the Coloma area. And that's one thing with technology. Once you're wanted, it's getting better and better where we're going to find you, especially with a situation like that. And that person had intended on killing a law enforcement officer. And then he held up at this residence in the Amherst area and then shot at the officers again. And as that incident continued with their SWAT teams from not only their department, but Stevens Point, Plover, Marathon County, as the incident continued, that's where I have to highlight these strong working relationships. One phone call, all right, our team's going. So our team went on, held a perimeter for a time frame. Another SWAT team came in, and then they made entry to the house, and the person had taken their own life. But fortunately, it doesn't happen very often where we're deploying the armored vehicle. But I just look at it as probably one of the biggest insurance policies you have to keep your people safe.
You break glass in case of needed. You know,
Correct.
you want the axe behind the glass if you need it. You hope you never do. You hope that glass stays that way for all the time. But it's important to have those things. And thank you for breaking down that incident for us. I appreciate that so much, and I appreciate obviously everybody's work involved in that and the communication involved in that. We've talked about how vital that is, not just for our state, but going forward, all states, and the communication between local police departments and sharing of information. It's not only interesting but vital going forward. I do want to 2 notes. I do want to send a shout out to Gamber Johnson and what they did. I had to get the sheet out. I wanted to make sure to get it right
I
too.
had it on my notes too. I got to talk to the CEO last night, and a huge thank you, to them. Mike Klein, a good friend of mine, works for them. He's on our Wood County Rescue. Got an opportunity to hang out with him last night as well. But they sponsored the event, and that was awesome.
And I also wanted to note too, and you and I have talked about this almost since our first conversation about how great these events are, not only for building the bridge between community and law enforcement and making that stronger and stronger. The idea that, like with Touch a Truck event and kids coming across these things, you never know what might spark in their mind, and maybe a future law enforcement agent or something in other emergency services or any of those things. But something that I kind of forget sometimes until an event like this happens and you and I get talking and I see your face when you're talking about some of these things. I forget too often, and I'm saying this not just to myself but to the community, how much this means to you guys.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of light moments, I would imagine, in this position. Not a lot of moments that you can look forward to in this position. So I'm happy to hear for you, for the Stevens Point Police Department, for other services that were down there and other events like this, that you guys get that interaction too, that you guys get these, I hate to say light moments, for lack of a better way to put it. It's pretty cool too.
No, it was. I looked at it as a recruiting opportunity. Every time I gave out stickers and pins, and I don't care how old they were, I'm like, hey, maybe down the road you want to be a police officer or a deputy sheriff. So it was fun. No, you're right. These kind of community events, especially when you can partner with so many other stakeholders, not only just the Rafters, but other, local vendors that come in and support not just law enforcement, but first responders. It was really nice to see the food trucks there. Again, Gamber Johnson coming in and sponsored most of the event. That's huge. The Rafters, the players coming out. That is so cool. We talk about sports cars and whatnot, and I was getting pictures with a few of the players, and I snuck in a couple cards and autographs.
Man.
And that was cool. And the attitudes these kids had, these young adults, in their early 20s, late teens. I mean, they were really cool, and very appreciative of being part of our community for just only a few months, because I asked, I'll give them a little grief. Hey, how's your host families? Oh, good. Well, I'm going to find out for sure if you're behaving. And they would laugh and took it really well. But it was really cool, interacting with them and seeing them and getting out with the crowds as well. Because who knows, one of these kids might be at the big show someday, and here's an opportunity for them to just interact with people, and because you know what, without us, who's going to watch you,
right?
And how are you going to get paid in the future? But it was a fun event, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to be there, and again, it was a little nerve-wracking throwing out a pitch, but it was fun.
My first pitch that I got to throw out at the Rafters would still be going if the catcher didn't make me look good and jump as high as he could to catch that ball. If he hadn't, that ball would still be flying out there somewhere.
Is that nerve-wracking? I was just
it really is.
And I had asked, hey, can I go like 10 feet in front of the mound, maybe? Can I underhand it?
Right.
Like slow pitch softball or something. But and I used to play softball with Vince Fonte Jr., and we were kidding about that, But no, great event. I'm glad I got the opportunity to go and how it all worked out.
Went to East and played baseball on that field, on that mound. Thought I had an advantage going into this. I did not. I did not. It was not.
You got thausands of people watching you.
It's different. It's a different animal, man. That's a whole different thing.
Totally.
We're speaking with Sheriff Sean Becker from the Wood County Sheriff's Department. Sean, you guys have a raffle going on.
Yeah, right? We do. I'll put it up just to show it. Second year we're doing this. It's an outdoorsman raffle that Scott Sager actually put together. We had the idea to do this for a whole month. Actually, the idea kind of came from our rescue unit because they were doing a calendar raffle that was just firearms. So we decided, hey, why don't we try one for our special response team? Equipment is not cheap. as we all know that. And we figured let's amp it up a little bit, not only have firearms, but what about an ATV, UTV, lawn equipment, things like that, some more expensive prizes that we could offer people. And it took off. So last year it sold out. We're in the process of doing it right now. Each ticket is $40 a piece. We will start the raffle on October 1st. So if anybody's interested, please give us a call. Stop by the Sheriff's Department, message us, and we'll definitely sell you a ticket. We've got several places, throughout the county that are selling them to as well. And it was fun, kind of, the rescue unit, when they would do their videos and do it, they would kind of do skits and stuff like that. We weren't as creative, but we tried. We would try to pick on each other a little bit when we'd pick a name and stuff like that. So, yeah, please get out there and support us. We really appreciate it. Like I said, it goes towards our special response team getting the equipment we just can't budget for.
Packers, Badgers, Brewers, and raffles. These are things that Wisconsinites love. This is a great idea. And not only that, but it's a fun way for people to win some cool stuff.
Yeah.
You guys got some great stuff on there.
Yeah, the first prize is a Henry rifle, a .22 caliber, but it's personalized to the raffle. And it's also got the new jail on the side of it.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Inscripted on it.
Man, nice work.
It's really cool.
This is also a great way to put back into your community, and a fun way to do that, too. You can know that the proceeds are going to help our departments and do some of the great work that you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the plug. If anybody is interested, just let us know. See one of like I said, they're out all over. Otherwise, come to the Sheriff's Department and we'll sell you a couple.
Hatchets for Hounds.
Yeah.
Just a great name. A great name for an event.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Awesome, because we won. No, several months ago, 715 Throwing Company and Drop Time Fabrication. Sorry, I didn't say it exactly right, but their company's based out of Portage County area, and I don't know really. I haven't really done any axe throwing much at all, but they said, hey, how about some, in August we do you square off against Sheriff Lucas, and we have a tournament, and then you guys step in at the end, and winner we'll get a couple extra prizes and have a little friendly competition, friendly. Especially with axes.
Right. It's probably a good idea.
And Mike and I get along really well. We have a friendly competition, between the border, and a lot of good conversations. But again, as I mentioned, we whenever we need help, we're always there. But yeah, so we did that. And so last Saturday at 715 Throwing Company, they have a really nice setup, a nice tavern area, and then another part of the building has the area you could throw axes. And I didn't realize how popular it was.
Yeah.
And like I said, very, very nice setup. And they got through their tournament. They had many companies donate so many items. I think there's almost 30 raffle baskets, and the money was being raised for our canine units. Mm-hmm. So we had, both of our departments had some of our canines there. Lola was there. And then what happened was the two tournament teams, or the individuals that won in the tournament, would get paired up with Mike and I. Then we would go head to head.
Oh,
and
cool.
And Mike and I were the last two to go, and it was pretty close at the end. And then I got lucky. I liked it. It was no skill with this at all. We got like 10 minutes to a little introduction how to throw axes, and I hit a couple bullseyes. Mike didn't, but they all stuck. The axes didn't fall to the ground. They stuck. So we didn't look too bad.
Yeah.
And in the end, we prevailed, and so I got some bragging rights until next year.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was, and we haven't got the final numbers, but we had a lot of people, just looking at, the sponsors from both counties.
Yeah.
I can see this event really, really growing as we move forward, and it was a lot of fun.
For those that don't know, what was the event for?
Our canine units, both of our canine units, we were raising money for, so they felt that was a passion of theirs, and a couple big vendors had stepped up for us, and I think that we did really well raising money for probably what we'll do is put the money towards our foundation, our Acacia Foundation, that does a lot of our fundraising for us, and we're just blessed to have the board that we have, especially with many of the people that have been there and new people that have joined on, just with the passion to help us fund our canine unit, because it's pretty much number one, it's expensive to have a canine unit. But with this community support, we're so fortunate that we really don't have to put much in our budget. It's just the money that people in the community that give us to make sure that we have a canine unit.
A big thank you to everybody involved in the event. Great work by everyone involved, and appreciate them. And not to get us down a side road here, when we're only like 5 minutes left, but that is an interview trope of mine, asking you a 2-hour question in the last minutes. But I am curious. When we were kids, I know there were canine units. I know we saw canine units. We heard about them. It feels like that's a position and a job that has grown quite a bit in recent years, finding more uses for these dogs, and with that, them becoming that much more vital in our departments.
Yeah, no, when I started my career down in Sauk Prairie, smaller police department, we didn't have one, but by the time that I left, we got one. And I just saw, even with that, a smaller community between Sauk City and Prairie du Sac, just the support, the money that came in to support this project that was new. And we had a really awesome officer that later became police chief, Jerry Strunz, take on that project and spearhead it. And now it's going to be with that department forever. For us, Ray Starks was the first person at Rico, and when I started here, he still had Rico, and he went through a couple more dogs before he retired. And then that's just grown with the communities. Now we have, including Lola, 5 dogs. And those are all funded by people that had donated money through our foundation or directly to the Sheriff's Department. And that's not exclusive to just the Wood County Sheriff's Department. Look at, Wisconsin Rapids Police Department, Marshfield Police Department, Nakusa. I'm very confident to say in Wood County, 24/7, there's a dog working somewhere in Wood County. Whether it's our department or someone else, we've got somebody available to help us out. And then what's really started to grow immensely is the therapy dog. And, being very lucky to have, Susanna take that on and have a dog and really work it through our jail and out in the community has been just a huge asset. Now you look at other agencies doing that, especially connecting them to your schools.
Yeah.
And what a great opportunity to work with kids that, maybe they're struggling. And I talked to a member of the Rafters organization last night who was in law enforcement in San Diego and had some very traumatic situations that really went down towards, I'm not going to do this anymore. And we've talked about our mental health and how that affects us as first responders or law enforcement as we move throughout our career and we walk away. What he felt saved him is just having a therapy dog, and working through the trauma that he experienced, and now you look at a therapy dog that a law enforcement agency can have, and when we're responding to traumatic situations, having a dog there that just you could hug and pet, and how calming is that? And I can see that it's going to continue to grow, with the community-oriented policing ideas that have been there forever. That's just one of those newer things that has been really exploding recently with law enforcement.
Got about 2 minutes left, Sean. Is anything you want to touch on before we let you go?
Wow. Boy, that went fast. Again, huge shout out to Gamber Johnson for National Night Out and sponsoring the event. The Rafters, that was awesome. One quick thing on the Meta Center for Mid-State Technical College over in Stevens Point. They had the ribbon cutting ceremony a couple weeks ago. I got the opportunity to go to that because I'm on the Mid-State Technical College board, which I'm very proud to be part of. But wow, what a phenomenal center that is put together. I didn't really, being new to the board, I didn't know a lot about it. So I'm like, I'm going to go there. And Mid-State just crushed it. Having all the people that donated money to make that center move forward, just focusing on the trades, and 2 in particular, they're all awesome. But Steel King Industries and Furniture and Appliance Mart are both very special to me, and seeing that they had been very big sponsors. One, Steel King. The reason why I'm in Central Wisconsin is my dad took a job with Steel King Industries back in 1980 and moved us up to Central Wisconsin. So my dad worked there for a long time, and that's what brought us here. And then Furniture and Appliance Mart I talked about. both big sponsors to that new facility, and just to see their name highlighted, and walking through it just kind of brought me to an appreciation of the community support that not only those two companies have, but all the other ones. It was a very humbling event to be at. When you look at the partnerships that many companies stepped up to make it happen, and to focus on the trades.
Yeah, it's so very cool. I can't wait to see it myself. Yeah. And a shout out to those companies, to Midstate, and a very kind of full circle moment for you there.
Yeah,
That's
totally
really unique. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Always cool talking with you, Sean. Appreciate you so darn much. Thanks so much for being in with us, putting up with my questions, and hanging out. We're looking forward to talking again real soon. If people do want to reach out to you about some of the positions that are open, or some of those things, how can they do that?
Two ways. Take a look at Human Resources on the website. They'll show what's available through the Sheriff's Department, or give us a call if you have some specific questions about either corrections or law enforcement, or being a deputy sheriff. Give us a call.
We appreciate you. Be safe out there. Say hi to the rest of the team for us, okay?
Absolutely.
We'll talk more next month. And I want to send a big thank you to, of course, our good friends over at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Get to YouTube, type in your search bar, Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, subscribe to their page, and keep up to date on all the great things they are doing over there. We'll have more Midday Magazine coming up for you on WFHR Locally Grown Radio.